Hi, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of Female Film Critics Panel. And today we are celebrating the Oscars. It's very exciting. We are talking about this year's particularly Best Picture nominees. We're ranking the Best Picture nominees, and we'll talk about some of the other nominees. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Luis is here.
Hi, thanks for having
Yeah.
me, Rachel. Always fun to do these with you.
Yes. So yeah, this is a lot of fun. I guess we should kind of go back and just talk a little bit about like how do you feel about 2024 as a year in movies in general? What do you think?
I think it was a great year for animated films,
Mhm.
and that's why I'm really disappointed there's no animation nominated for Best Picture this
I
year
know.
because I think there were so many
Yeah.
that really probably should have gotten the slots over some
Yeah.
of these that we're going to talk about today, but
Yeah, I mean I actually do agree with you. I think that I mean it, it's right up there in my opinion. This era of animation I think is as exciting as the Disney Renaissance, which is
yeah.
saying something because that's maybe the most exciting time of animation ever.
Mhm.
But the Disney Renaissance, it was pretty much just Disney. It was that was Renaissance, and then everybody else, was pretty middling at that. And whereas like I feel like now it's just such an exciting time for everyone, independent to everyone else. And Disney's the one kind of falling a little bit behind, if anything. But seeing what DreamWorks has been doing, seeing what even something like Sony has been doing with Spider-Verse, seeing what I mean, it's just they're being so innovative with the styles of animation and the stories they're telling. It's really cool.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you. Yeah,
So it's and I think 2025 is going to be really cool too. It's going to be another good
I hope
good
so.
year. Yeah. Well, before we dive into the best pictures, I guess were there any or how do you feel about this sort of crop of nominees in general?
Not so excited about it. I've always
Yeah.
been super, super excited for award season, and this year
Uh-huh.
just has not been great. I know you had asked me before I came on today to rank like the 10 best pictures, and it was
Uh-huh.
kind of hard because the three worst are easy, the three best are easy, but then there's just so many kind of stuck in the middle, like the
Yeah.
four in the middle.
Well, it's true. I basically have half of the Best Picture nominees that I went fresh on.
Um,
As far
I'm
as Rotten
looking at the list
Tomatoes,
right
if
now. I
that
have a
says
little.
something. So I basically like half of them.
Yeah, that's about right. Most of them I just had no real strong opinion on, and that's really unusual for me because I'm
Uh,
usually one of those like black and white, I loved it or I hated it, but some of
yeah,
these are just kind of and I think a lot of people probably feel the same way this year. I don't know.
yeah. I agree. And I mean, is there one in particular, a movie in particular, aside from the animation that you mentioned, that you think got snubbed that you would have liked to
I
have
mean,
seen?
like Flow was my favorite movie of
Mm.
the year by far, one of the best things I've
Mm.
seen probably in the last 5 years, I would say. Loved it.
Ah,
So it's really hard because that's the one I just keep talking about. Like, why?
yeah.
Why didn't this get in? Why didn't this get in? That's a good question. What about you? Do you have one?
Well, I would have loved to have seen Ghostlight get a real campaign.
Ghost Light.
It
Yeah.
didn't really get much attention, and I just thought all around it was really good. Good screenplay, good acting, good movie. I would just love to have seen that gotten some more attention.
I love that too. I also loved A Different Man. I thought that was good. Like we were talking
Mhm.
about kind of indie movies. That was another one I really thought was interesting enough that it should have gotten a little more attention than it did.
Yeah, and of course the documentary branch, they always skunk it. They always it's
Yeah,
terrible. And so the fact that the Superman Christopher Reeves documentary wasn't even on the short list is ridiculous. And then the I am Will and Harper, I thought that was such a lovely little documentary. And they're just so boring with their documentary selections. It's
yeah.
always these talking heads, social commentary. It's never anything that actually like moves people or tries anything different.
Right?
It's so ridiculous. I mean, this is going back way back. I mean, the documentary branch has been lame for forever. I mean, it like
True.
almost uh any groundbreaking documentary, almost all of them weren't nominated for best documentary. Like
Yeah, you're
Grey Gardens, Hoop Dreams.
it's weird when you
Like
look back on it, but you're right. You know what? Now that you mention these, I'm like, wow, it really was a really good year for documentaries as well
yeah,
this last
yeah,
year. So yeah, but yeah, I those aren't exciting either. Which is
they
why I was
always
saying I'm not that excited about the Oscars this year. I wish I
yeah,
could be a little more excited about it, but I don't know. Maybe there'll be
yeah.
some surprises and we'll be excited about who wins and who doesn't win.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a fan of Rachel's Reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/hallmarkies.
Oh, let's dive in. So I have my ranking the of the top 10. I have my ranking of the best picture. And for me, my number 10 is actually Nickel Boys is my number 10. And it's a movie I do respect it for taking the risks, but I just thought it made me nauseous. I didn't even finish it, to be honest. I was like, I'm gonna throw up. Like I just and I felt like the I felt like the first person perspective actually kind of it made it harder for me to connect with the story. It felt a little style over substance to me. And it's like I want to see this person's face. Like I want to connect with who they are. And so the first person perspective actually I think made it harder for me to get intimately invested in the story. And it just wasn't for me. I didn't care for it. I understand why it got nominated, and I understand why, because other people don't have as weak as stomachs as I do. But yeah, it was my number 10.
Yeah, I have that at number 8, actually, one of my
Okay.
bottom 3, and for the exact same reason.
Yeah.
And I hate to do it because I think the story was really good. The performances were great, but that first person, it was, I'm trying to see what I wrote down about this. It was just, it really took me out of the story too.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
first person perspective. It felt very gimmicky in an unnecessary way. And that's
Yeah.
really a shame.
Yeah.
But it was a
Yeah.
good story.
Yeah. And I would have liked to have seen their faces, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah.
it would be one thing if they did that for like so there was this movie at Sundance called Plain Clothes, and
Mhm.
it's about this man in the 90s who's an undercover he goes undercover uh and they end up he plays this he catches gay men basically that are soliciting or trying to hook up, and he ends up falling in love with one of the people that
Mhm.
he's hooking up with. And that movie also has some, it's not first person, but it has some shaky because it's like supposed to be undercover and things like that, but like it was more tolerable because there are little breaks where and you also do get to see their face.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Like I think if it could be something like that where maybe that we just got like a little break. It wasn't so.
Yeah, it was kind of relentless, I would
Yeah, it
say.
was. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Okay, so what do you have at 10?
So I have Wicked at number 10.
Whoa, hot take.
I mean, so
Okay.
I love musicals. I love musical theater, but to be fair, and I know that we were going back and forth on social media when it was announced they were doing this movie. I was like, I'm gonna give it's one of my least favorite musicals of all time. Like it's worse than Cats for me. And I know
Uh-huh.
nobody really loves Cats. The movie was just Oh my God. It was absolute like torture for me. Everything about it, like the casting, like the singing, the choreography was just so it felt so clunky. I did love the costumes. And then when it's
Uh-huh.
over, you're just like, oh my gosh, there's gonna be a part two. Like how much more can they draw out this story? And
Uh-huh.
I swear to you, I really tried. I really tried with it, but it was
Mhm.
absolute torture for me, and I cannot believe it's a Best Picture nominee. I don't think it has a chance of winning at all.
You know, I don't think it will win, but I wouldn't say that just because I do think the preferential ballot could help it. I think a lot because
Maybe.
the thing about the preferential ballot is you want to get high up on as many as possible. It's not necessarily about being number one on the most ballots. You want to be in the top on the most ballots. And I could picture Wicked being pretty high up on a lot of people. So I because and that's why we end up with a lot of these sort of more crowd pleasers in that have been winning lately. I mean, with there's
Wait.
some exceptions. Like I would say everything everywhere all at once was a little more IAG experimental. But but we've had a lot of more sort of crowd pleasing winners lately, like a Coda or a Green Book or a things like that. And so I could see Wicked or a Complete Unknown. I could see both them being a surprise because they're, I think, the most crowd pleasing of the I mean, it's looking like Honora is going to win, which was I would never have guessed. You'll see where I have it, but I would never have guessed because it's still a pretty old group of voters for the Academy, and it just seems like Honora wouldn't be something that they would like. So who knows? And I'm the worst at predicting. So don't put your ballot based on what I think because I'm usually completely wrong.
Well, I would not have put Wicked on my ballot if I was fortunate enough to be an Oscar voter.
Interesting. I have it much higher. I really
I
enjoyed it.
figured you did. I was expecting that. Yes.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I mean, it would be my favorite just as far as uh but my favorite, like the one that I enjoyed the most. And then if I'm looking, what do I think is actually the best movie? I have one higher, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought that I loved both Ariana and Cynthia in the roles. I thought they were both really good. I really liked all the singing. I love those songs. I Jonathan Bailey I thought was really great. I enjoyed the choreography. I'm still not convinced that they needed to make it into two movies. I do agree that certain parts are stretched out longer than they need to be. Especially Defying Gravity, I think was a little bit of a miss because it just and in the show they do stop it in that song. You have the I hope you're happy now in hurt your cause forever. That whole part, and so I think that they were trying to kind of do that, plus just stretch it out, and I don't really love that how they did that, but I still really enjoyed it. I saw it 3 times, including
Oh
once
my gosh.
in the sing along, which was a blast. And
Okay, that sounds fun.
and
That
my friend Camille has seen. She's like I think she might be the biggest Wicked fan in the whole world. She has seen it on Broadway or on the national. She's seen it live. She's seen it 26 times.
Oh my gosh. And I have to tell you, that's the only musical I've ever been to where at intermission, I almost considered leaving the theater. I hated it so much. I
So
don't know why it
funny.
doesn't resonate with me, but so
Yeah.
please, Wicked fans, don't like send me hate mail because I know that it's like enjoyable. The costumes are awesome. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. And um so yeah, so I have it at 2. I really did enjoy it, and I hardly liked any blockbusters this year.
Hmm.
There were I mean, I just thought that 2024 was such a weak year for studio films. In my top 50 of the year, I only had 4 movies with a budget of over $50 million.
No kidding. Wow.
And one of those was Nosferatu, which budget was 50 million, so barely. So it just was not a good year for studio films to me. I mean, I went to so many screens where I was like, well, that was disappointing. That was a letdown, and I mean, we were at South by Southwest watching The Fall Guy being like, what?
Yeah, this is terrible. Oh gosh, yeah. That was terrible. That was a bad movie.
Very disappointing. Very. And so I don't know what's going on. And some people said, oh, it's because of it's because of the strike that, the things weren't as good, but I don't know. I feel like 2025 for movies actually could be more affected by the strike than 2024 because, these things take long time. But yeah, I was a grumposaurus this year when it comes. So I get it with Wicked. I hardly liked anything. So what do you have at 9?
So I have The Substance at number 9.
Oh, okay.
Which I know you like that a lot more than I did.
I did. We had a whole episode of Female Film Critics panel though, with Molly on, and which she didn't like it, and we kind of talked it out. I do admit with this movie that if you start to pick at it, it kind of falls apart. You kind of just have to you just kind of have to, if you either go with it and go with where it's trying, or because there's a ton of stuff in it that makes absolutely no sense. The fact that she has no manager, she has no assistant, she has nobody helping her in any way, and yet she's supposedly a lead in this show. That makes no sense. She has there's nobody that would notice that she is gone for a week, but I almost had to appreciate it on almost like a parable, like an allegory kind of level. That what I liked about it is that every time they talk about beauty in the movie, it's always combined with love. That, that the people, when she's beautiful, they love her more. Or when she's young, they love her more. And she gets the fan mail and the flowers and we love you, we love you, we love you. And so it's almost more that just wanting to feel loved than it is wanting to feel beautiful. And I thought about it, how often in life do we as a society equate beauty with love? That something's beautiful, so we can't imagine them doing something bad because they're so beautiful. They're so we can't imagine them being a bad person because look how handsome they are, or look how, and so many dictators have come to power on a lot of that charisma. They're so charming. Sure. They're so, and so I thought that was a very interesting thing that it kind of did and talked about. And I just I also thought it was a little bit, had a sense of humor to it. And so as it gets grosser and grosser, I thought it was kind of funny. Especially the end when she's putting on an earring and she's all I don't know, it kind of made me laugh. But yeah, I did enjoy it as this kind of fable, I would say. It's kind of a story, but you did not enjoy it.
I did not like that. So where was it ranked on your list? I'm curious.
So I have it a 3.
Oh my gosh, we're totally opposite. It'll be interesting. It bothered me because it's trying so hard to be this big, feminist, making this big statement, but I felt like it kind of over sexualized the characters. It made all the men in this, and I'm not a male apologist by any means, but it made all the male characters were just made to be just these idiots. I don't like that. It just didn't feel real. I thought it was just overly gross and gory for shock value that really added nothing to it. And I watched tons of little indie horror movies and they're really gross, but this one, come on. And then one more thing, but I'm so tired of movies where there's an actress over 50 and she does nude scenes that, oh, she's so brave. And that just bothers me. It's no, that's fair. Emma Thompson and Good Luck. I think it was Good Luck, Leo Grande. I can't remember of it. That kind of thing. It just, all of that just, I was sitting there just agitated because I was in an audience of mostly men and you could just feel
Oh.
them loving this movie. And I kept getting like, I was like, oh my God, just getting so agitated by it.
Yeah.
And I just think that kind of theming has been done better in other movies.
Yeah. I guess the thing with the men for me is that the film is being told from her perspective. So she's not it's kind of an unreliable narrator. I don't think it's necessarily saying that all men are like the Dennis Quaid character or even like the boyfriend who's kind of a pig. But I think that it's saying that this character thinks that they are. That's what I would say. I think it's
Yeah, sure. That's fair
yeah,
too.
that's what I would say. But yeah, it's a unique film. It's definitely not going to be for everybody. So I get it. I was very happy to see it getting nominated because usually horror isn't nominated, and I was happy to see the director getting a nomination because I did really enjoy it and had fun with it, but also just that it's just nice to see something different get nominated for Best
Well,
Picture,
it's
you know?
very different. I can't believe again that's an Oscar nominated movie, but hey.
Yeah.
Okay, now that one I don't think has a chance of winning either, but we'll see.
No, I don't think that one has a chance of winning. I think Demi still could win. It's a
Mm,
little bit up there. That is one thing about this year's Oscars is that it's pretty unpredictable compared to other
yes.
years. I feel like Kieran is really the only like for sure thing going into this that he'll win Best Supporting. I
Mhm.
I think he's won all the precursors. I so it would be a surprise to me at least if he didn't win. But I feel like almost every other category there's been like some variance in the precursor awards, and there's been some debate. So that's kind of fun.
That's the one thing that's going to be really exciting this year is I have no idea. I don't think anybody can predict any categories, but you're probably right about supporting actor. But I mean,
Yeah.
who knows? Who knows? We never know.
Yeah. Well, my number 9 is Amelia Perez.
Okay.
And I was really disappointed in independent musicals this year because I'm a musical slut. I love musicals and I'm usually super easy to please when it comes to musicals. But I didn't like Amelia Perez. I didn't like Joker Folie à Deux. I didn't like the other, what was the other, the end, that one about the end of the world. I didn't like that. So maybe I'm
Did you
not as
like A Better Man? Did you like A Better Man?
I did like A Better Man.
Okay, yeah.
I did like
So
A
there
Better
you go.
Man.
There's one.
Yeah,
I
at
like
least
that
there's
too.
something.
There's
But
one.
I also was not as in love with Sing Sing as most people.
Yeah, me either.
I didn't dislike it, but I just it to me it was almost trying too hard to like be emotionally distant to be like I wanted it to get me a little bit more and it was just a little aloof, left me a little cold. And I wasn't expecting that because, I'm community theater. It's like my heart.
Yeah.
And I just, maybe my expectations were too high. I was just like, oh, I just didn't love it. But Amelia Perez, I left thinking, boy, that was a lot of ideas. They were doing a
Yeah.
lot of things. And so there were some things that were interesting and that it's like, okay. And if it had just been this sort of experimental Netflix movie, I'd been like, whatever, like I didn't recommend it. Like I said, I only recommended 5 of these movies on Rotten Tomatoes.
Right.
So so I wouldn't have recommended, but I didn't like hate it or anything. But then it's just been this bizarre phenomenon. And to get 13 nominations, like what is happening?
I don't know. It's okay. So I have it at number 7. So it's a little bit
Okay.
higher up on my list, but still at the
Yeah.
bottom. And for all the reasons you said, well, first of all, the songs are just terrible.
Yeah.
They're so bad. They're
Yeah.
so bad. They just are.
Like the
They're not.
first 2 songs, I think are like a little bit okay. And like I think if the movie had been about Rita,
Mhm.
and just been about like I was saying the other day that if it had been kind of a Mexican French version of Ally McBeal like musical or like Drop Dead Diva, I think that could have been kind of fun and her daydreaming at the court and like
Yeah.
those first 2 songs, but then after that it's just like
It's just what is going on?
yeah.
I mean, it's not a bad movie. Like it was really hard to try to express what you feel about this one because I think Zoe Saldana's like great. She's great. I wouldn't be mad if she won more awards for her performance. But
Yeah.
there's so many ideas. And now it's
Yeah.
angered like different communities and like, now it's got all this with
Negative
the
tension
old
from the
tweets and things like
star.
that. Like,
Yeah.
right. But I mean, I know, and I know you're the same way. I'm a voter and you are in some different film guilds, not the Oscars. Wouldn't that be
Yeah.
fun if we were? But when I see ads pop up, it was always Netflix, like driving Amelia Perez,
Yeah.
Amelia Perez. And now it's just like disappeared. But I mean, for a long time, they were pushing. And I started to
Yeah.
think maybe that's how it got all those
Yeah.
nominations. I don't know.
I think that's what makes it feel icky because I don't know anybody that loves this movie. I know some people were like, it's okay. It was like, I liked it, but like, I don't know anybody that's like passionate about it. And there's always in the 10 nominees, since they started having 10 nominees, there's always a couple that are like, um, but usually there's like some kind of hive around them or some group that likes the movie. I mean, it was just so weird. And I just it just felt like it just reminded me of the old Miramax days, when you would just feel
Yes,
like this
they're trying to buy
this movie
awards, and
has
I
been bought and
please
sold.
don't hate us, Netflix, but still, it feels that way. It really, really does. And I think that's
Yeah.
probably how it got so many nominations. If you had asked me maybe 4 weeks ago, I would have guessed that really had a shot at Best Picture.
Yeah,
But I mean,
I'd agree.
I think it still does. I think it
You
still
never
does.
know because Hollywood is such a bubble.
Hmm.
It's
I
such
know.
its own place that
Mhm.
I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked. I think that Zoe will win. I think that she will win for supporting actress. And then I think that it will win one of the songs,
Yeah, probably.
probably.
Probably. Not
I mean,
excited about that,
unless
but
the two songs cancel each other out, that's possible because
it's
there's
possible.
two.
I don't know.
But maybe Diane Warren will finally win.
Oh my gosh, I know. She's always nominated.
Yeah. And I got to interview her for South by Southwest, cover the red carpet. So that was fun.
Oh,
And I
that's
was
fun.
surprised because I was expecting Diane Warren to like not really care that much, like I was just figuring she'd be just sort of over it, but no, she's like so invested. She really cares. And so I hope eventually they'll just give it to her because she just,
Yeah, I know. I mean, being nominated. I mean, how many times has she been nominated? Like, a lot
yeah, I
over the
think that
years.
like 19, something like that, 18,
That's
19.
crazy.
Yeah,
And
a
that shows
lot.
how great she is at what she does, but just
Yeah.
there's always something that
I don't
gets
know.
in
I
her
just
way.
figured she would just be like, whatever, kind of like that's when you talk to when you hear Lin Manuel, like that's his attitude. It's just like I've got plenty of awards, it's fine, I just figured she'd be
Like, I
like
just want one, just one.
that.
At least
Yeah,
she's honest about it.
yeah. So, what do you have? What's your number 9?
I have number 10, Wicked, number 9, The Substance, number
Oh,
8,
right, right,
Nickel
right.
Boys, number 7, Amelia Perez.
Okay.
So
So
yeah.
I have a number 8, I have Dune Part 2. And this is purely personal preference. I just don't love Dune. I think Dune is so boring. I don't care about the story. I'm not a science fiction person. I hated the book. It's almost it's just not for me. And so like
Yeah.
I never posted actually my review on Rotten Tomatoes because I just don't feel like it's fair. Like I think this is a good Dune movie. I think it's well made, but I hate it. And it's or hate's too strong. I don't like it. It's just not for me. I don't like the characters, I don't like the story. I don't like, and but they made a good Dune movie. So it's not fair for me, I don't think, to to criticize something for being what it is. Like this
I was
is
the same way with Wicked. I didn't put a Wicked review on Rotten
Oh, you
Tomatoes for
didn't?
the exact same reason.
Yeah. I
Exact
mean,
same reason.
there's
Yeah.
no way to make a better Dune movie. And maybe tighten it up a little bit, then I think I'd like it better. But it's just one of those things that we all have our tastes. We all have things we like and don't like, and I don't like Dune.
Right. I'm not a huge fan of Dune, but I actually have it at number 2.
Oh, wow.
But this is okay. This is how much I don't really like a lot of these Best Picture nominees. And the reason why I'm not so excited about,
Yeah.
sci-fi spices or whatever, like the movie was what, like 2 hours and 46 minutes long. It didn't feel long though. To me, that movie didn't feel very long because I think it's for sci-fi fans, it over delivers. Like whatever your expectations were for that, not like if you didn't really care about it, I think it over delivered. It was like well made.
Yeah,
didn't
it
feel
is.
too
It's well made.
long.
I will admit
It's
it, but
beautiful to look at. So anyway, I have that in my number two for all those
that's
reasons.
really fun.
Even though like I'm not a big fan either, but I think for what it was, it did it extremely well.
Yeah.
Extremely well.
I like the first one better though than this one because I think that Dune Part One, it dives more into more interesting spaces about him wanting to be what kind of leader is Paul going to be? Is he going to be like his father? Whereas like the various dimensions of what's happening on with the sand people, like that's just not that interesting, I don't think. And but so if it was for me, I would pick Dune Part One over Dune Part Two.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm even debating, do I even want to see the next one? Because I'm just like, it's just not for me. Like I'm not a Dune person.
I
Not.
probably won't see part two of Wicked. I just don't think it's fair.
Kind of the
So,
same thing. Yeah, kind of same thing.
Hey, this is Jen Johans, host of the podcast Watch with Jen, which delivers a steady stream of great movie recommendations, thoughtful career deep dives, and first-rate conversations with film critics, authors, actors, journalists, filmmakers, and more. You can find Watch with Jen wherever you get your podcasts or hear us first at our Patreon at patreon.com/filmintuition.
The thing about Wicked is that why I'm still not convinced that they need a Wicked Part 2 is that I think that Wicked is an Act 1 heavy show. Most of the memorable songs that people talk about, that people like, are in that first act. There's really only 3 songs in that second act that are memorable or favorites. And there's a lot of reprises. There's a lot of, obviously For Good is one of the favorites. But and As Long As You're Mine, and there's another one, my mind's gone blank. But anyways, there's basically 3 songs that are very memorable. The rest are kind of either forgettable or reprises or that kind of thing. So like, how do you make a whole movie post Defying Gravity? Like, I think that they're going to have to add a bunch. Which is like, will that be good or will that be bad or what are they going to do? I don't know. So that part of it, they have not. I thought it was way better than I worried it would be, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But are they going to be able to pull off Part 2? I'm still not convinced. But we'll see. We'll see. But that's the challenge that they have, is that I think for most people would, I think, agree that most of the good songs are in Part 1.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, so my number 7 is where I have a Nora.
Okay. Oh, okay. I have a Nora at 3.
Okay. Yeah, I first of all, I went into this movie with people set me up for the wrong movie. They were like, it's so funny, it's hilarious. And then they were saying like, it's like a new Pretty Woman. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, just because they have the same job doesn't make them the same movies. Like, they're completely different movies. And so I went in with definitely the wrong expectation. And I know that's part of it. And I have not watched it again. So, but I did not think it was funny, like, at all. I really don't. People are saying it's like a screwball comedy. I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't get it. Like, to me, it was kind of sad. Like that. And I mean, I guess there's the shenanigans with the running all around, Atlantic City or whatever. But I didn't think it was, I didn't laugh a single time. I did not think it was funny. And I found the ending very confusing. What are they trying to say? Is she like invested in this guy? But he was like abusing her earlier in the movie. He's literally like beating on her. She's screaming. I just didn't really get it. It wasn't for me.
I can't believe somebody described that movie to you that way, because I was like, wait, what? Did they see the same
No,
one?
I heard it
So
quite a bit. People say, no, this is New Pretty Woman.
I mean, there were some like kind of fun moments, but I wouldn't call it like a, hilarious comedy or
Yeah.
anything. The first 30 minutes were so bad, I almost didn't make it through. I hated the first like half hour of it, hated it, but the payoff is so good and so worth it. It's not one that I loved. I was kind of middle of the road, but again, that shows you ranked at my number 3 that
Yeah.
there's not
I
too
didn't
excited about things.
understand the payoff. What is she doing with that guy at the end? Like, is that some kind of revenge, or is she actually in love? And it just felt very weird to me. I don't know. I didn't get it. I didn't get the
The
ending.
ending's the best part of the movie just because of that, because you're gonna talk about it.
Okay.
I know a lot of people saw it as like he was her knight in shining armor. I did not. I saw it more as kind of a shared, when two people like have a shared trauma that they can kind of understand each other a little more. So that really affected me. I thought it was one of the best endings I've seen in a while in
Do you
movies.
think that she's like actually interested in him or no?
I do, yeah.
You think that they will
Yeah.
get together again or no?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I think
Mhm.
so, yeah. I'd actually be interested to see what other people thought about that.
Yeah, I would do too. Let
Just
us
like
know in
going,
the comments.
yeah, yeah. I'm really, really curious. I don't want to say more in case somebody
Yeah.
hasn't seen it, or I
Right,
don't want,
right.
because it
I
was the best part of the movie. So
it was confusing to me, the ending. But like I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love
Mhm.
it. And so yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Okay, so at number 6 is where I have Conclave, and this unpopular opinion. I just felt like this movie was really boring. I did not like I don't know, I don't really get it. I don't really get like people describing it as a thriller. I'm like, I didn't care who he picked. Like, we didn't get to know any of the candidates. Why should I care if he picks John Lithgow or whoever? Like, I didn't get to know any of them. So why should I be invested? Why is that thrilling? I have no idea. Like, I'm sure a real life conclave has a certain degree of tension, but most of it is probably
Sure.
really boring. People, sitting around, and like, and I was like, yeah, that was accurate. That was, I don't know, I'm a little baffled that people love it so much, because I was just like, yeah, Ray Fiennes, he was good performance. He was an interesting character. And the whole thing felt very undercooked to me. I just, it looks nice cinematography. The getting a nomination for costumes is absolutely ridiculous. Like,
With all the ropes. Yeah.
congratulations, the Vatican has, outfits. Like, what? Costume design, like, they ridiculous. I mean, if it wins costume design, I will die.
I
Like,
think I think Wicked is like so good for that. I mean, like that. But yeah.
ridiculous. Like,
Oh,
I
I'm
mean,
gonna laugh if it wins, and I'll think of you when they're like Conclave. So I have Conclave at my number 1 because
yeah,
I loved it. I loved it.
yeah,
I thought it was so thrilling. I have seen it multiple times.
yeah.
And again, I think part of it is because I'm really interested in politics and like the political process. And I'm trying to see what I wrote down here. I thought it was politically charged, intense, with power struggles and hidden agendas. And I just found that fascinating. It's like House of Cards, but in the Vatican. And I like that. It's very talky. It's absolutely gorgeously directed,
Yeah, this looks
beautiful
good.
movie, beautiful original score. Like everything about it is just great. I
Yeah.
thought it was so
I just
exciting.
I just wish that I'd gotten to know the characters. I just
Mhm.
felt like it was so cursory. And so I didn't feel any tension, because I'm just like, I don't even know the difference. Like, what's the difference between John Lithgow's character and Stanley Tucci? I don't know. Like, why do we care if one of them gets picked over the other? Oh,
Oh, I thought it was really exciting. And then Anora too had like such such great character development. Like one of the best of, I think, looking at this list of any of the movies this year, like there was so much going on with all the characters. And then I didn't really like that one. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Honora, it was just like a lot of screaming to me and a lot of shouting, but it was okay. I didn't hate it, but I did like, I guess Conclave just on a technical level, I think I like it a little better than Honora, but I still didn't give it fresh on, I was a hater on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, no. And maybe the answer with Conclave is it's not so much about the characters, it's about the process. Maybe that's if I had to debate it and make an argument, maybe that's the argument I'd make. But I actually found it absolutely thrilling.
Yeah,
Honora's not a comedy, but
I was so confused. I was really baffled by that one, but yeah, you're in the majority. I'm in the minority. So what do you have at 6?
Okay, at 6 I have I'm Still Here. The 4, 5, and 6 were they're basically interchangeable to me.
I have that at 5. So we're basically we're the same.
Okay.
I found it quite moving. This was the last one that for me to see. And this was a big surprise. I don't know. I was really surprised that it got nominated. I didn't didn't see that coming. But I think it's a moving true story, and I do think they did an incredible job of like creating a believable family. Like it really feels like these people are related to each other and there's a real bond between them, and seeing her go through the years and fighting for her husband and what happened to her husband is a good story, moving story. And pretty amazing to have her mother play her as an older woman. That was
right. That's so
brilliant.
Cool. Yeah, really
that was brilliant. It's a little slow. For me, it was just a little, but I liked it. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It was pretty good. I don't have a really strong opinion either way. Very, very slow, very long and drawn out. Great performances though.
Yeah.
And it's very Oscar baity feeling, like a historical political kind of drama, and I don't know. I think it's going to be kind of middle of the road too with voters. We'll see.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think that it could win international though?
Maybe.
Because usually the best picture nominee that's also nominated for international picture usually wins, but this year we have two. And
what's nominated for internet? Do you have the list pulled up?
So I just know off the top of my head. Oh well, let's see. I do have it.
Okay. I can't remember all the I think five nominees. I can't remember the nominees.
Well, I know the 3 that have any chance. Oh, here we go. So it's I'm Still Here, The Girl with the Needle, Emilia Perez, The Seed of the Sacred Fig, and Flow. And so here's the thing about this category. I still think that Emilia Perez is the favorite. If I were a betting person, that's who I would bet for. But because I think I'm Still Here is also Best Picture nominee, I think it could be a surprise. It could win if Emilia Perez has lost some of its luster. But I also think if I could see a situation, if somebody wanted to do like a real dark horse ballot, I could see a situation where those two kind of cancel each other out a little bit. And Flo is so loved and such a favorite that I could see that being I would never vote. I would never bet on it or anything, but I could see that being a surprise.
That's what I would have voted for. You know how much I love it.
So yeah, for sure. That's what I would vote for.
You'll be able to hear me screaming all the way in Las Vegas. That wins on Oscar night. I'll be so excited.
And I'll have to send you, I interviewed Gintz for my channel.
He's awesome. Like,
so
oh my gosh, he keeps sharing all this cool. Okay, so what color do you think the cat was in that movie?
Black.
Okay, right. He swears it was like dark gray based on his childhood cats. And I watched that movie. I have a black cat. And she was in here watching it with me. And it's like, no, that cat's black. Don't tell me that. Like, anyway, that's the big debate. But he swears the cat's dark gray. So
if you were there in Vegas doing betting your ballot, would you bet for Flo for Best Animated? It's tricky because it's won some stuff, but then The Wild Robots won some stuff too.
The Wild Robot is so good, though. It's so good. So
it's so good.
I don't know.
It's a
I don't
really,
know.
it seems like a 2-horse race, but I could also see, because Inside Out 2 was the most profitable movie of the year, the most successful animated film ever.
Sure.
I could see that surprising too.
Me too. I honestly think that category is another toss up. I think it's going to come down to votes, like just a few vote, like,
because it's not the preferential ballot like Best Picture is.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think I will. I don't know what I'll pick. Flo or Wild Robot. I mean, I loved Wild Robot. That was my favorite movie of the year.
I loved it too. It was great. Great.
But it does seem like Flo's getting some momentum, but then they both won the Annies. Flo won Best Independent, and then Wild Robot won Best Animated Film, period. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting.
Well, I want it to win because I want more independent animation. I don't mean to talk about animation, but
no,
I mean, you love it too. So
it would be very exciting. It really would. I mean, not only because then I've interviewed the winner, that would be cool. But but yeah, there's never been an independent winner. Never. Like the closest,
that would be so exciting.
The closest that we've ever gotten is like Miyazaki winning twice,
right?
But that's not really independent. But that's the closest. So that would be very cool, to see. And a lot of times you wouldn't think that an independent would have much of a chance because just not enough people watch them. Not enough of the voters have seen it. But they have really plastered that Flo everywhere. I mean, not only, like, I'm sure all of the voters got, screenings and screeners and stuff, but it's everywhere. You can watch it on Tubi, you can watch it on Max, you can watch it on if you want to, there is no excuse for a voter to have not watched Flo.
And I think that's a big part of it, the accessibility. If people can see it, then they can vote for it. So we'll see what happens. Be interesting.
Yeah.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
So what did you have at 5?
At 5, again, this is interchangeable. 4, 5, and 6 is The Brutalist.
Okay. So I have, you'll see where I have that, but I'm still here at 5. We'll talk about The Brutalist a little bit later. So what do you have at 4?
At 4, I have A Complete Unknown.
Same.
Okay.
So we have
Hey.
Right. Yeah. So I've seen this twice. I watched it in screeners during voting season. And then we were doing an episode of Onstage Blog talking about we were doing an episode of Onstage Blog where we're talking about the Oscar nominated musicals. And so I wanted it fresh in my mind. And I hadn't ever seen it on the big screen. I'd missed the screening. So I'd only seen it in the screener link. And so I saw it a second time a couple of weeks ago. And I really did enjoy it. I thought it was a really solid, entertaining movie, for what it was. I think that the second half is better than the first half, particularly with all of the machinations about the Newport Beach Folk Festival. Is he going to play the electric guitar and, all that stuff? I thought that was pretty entertaining and pretty fun. And he's good. I was happy to see it get so many acting. I think all the actors are all really good. I think it's just a very solid, entertaining movie.
Yeah, Chalamet is just awesome, and I'm a huge Bob Dylan fan, and I expected to go in and be really disappointed, and I thought he just knocked it out of the park. I liked how focused the storytelling was. It wasn't trying to be about Dylan's, whole life. It was just a little snippet. I thought it was really well done, crowd pleasing, easily accessible, good.
Yeah, that's why movie. I think it could do well in the preferential ballot.
Yeah. It
you
could.
know?
Good, solid movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I have The Substance at 3. We already talked about
Okay.
that. What do you have at 3?
At 3, I have a Nora.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Good. We
Yeah.
talked about that.
Yep.
Okay. So then what do you have at 2?
At 2, I have Dune 2.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Did you have anything that you just said you just thought it was really well done?
Yeah, for what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not, again, like, I think sci-fi fans be happy with it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I could see the next one being the one kind of like with Return to the King being the one
Mhm.
that they reward. I do think it's
They
a
reward,
little
yeah.
crazy that Villeneuve didn't get nominated. And I think it's absolutely ridiculous that it was deemed as ineligible for the score.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to nominate John Williams for all of those Star Wars movies, and
Yes.
which have like so much of other movies music in them,
Yes.
but you're not gonna nominate the Dune Part 2 score because it uses too much of Part 1. I mean, come on, that makes no sense.
They're just changing the rules at, last minute or something. It's really annoying. But yeah, I agree with you.
And also, it makes no sense, even though I loved Wicked, it makes no sense to nominate Wicked for best score. I mean, that uses tons of the Broadway musical, and you can't nominate Dune
Yes.
Part 2. That makes no sense.
No, it makes no sense. It's annoying, but
Especially when there were so many good score candidates this year that didn't get nominated.
God, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy the Wild Robot got in there. I'm happy about that, but there were so many good scores, like Challengers. It was a good score. Yeah. And so it's just kind of ridiculous. Yeah. I really wish, I mean, if I could pick a movie that didn't, I love Ghostlight. I agree with you there, but I really did love A Real Pain. And I think that had a very good shot. I think probably Nickel Boys got that spot.
Mhm.
But if A Real Pain was in here, I would probably have that at number 1. I mean, I really enjoyed that movie. So
A Real Pain would be at my 1 or 2. I thought it was just great. I've seen it several times. Absolutely, just it's great. It's really great. If you haven't seen it, see it. It's really good, everybody.
Yeah, and I will be very excited if Kieran wins.
Me too.
Yeah, and screenplay. I think it has a
my God, the
screenplay.
Great.
Yeah,
the screenplay's so good.
And I was nervous because Jesse Eisenberg's first movie I did not like at all.
Me either.
Saving the World or whatever it was called.
Yeah, I did not like that either.
No. So he nailed it.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you write about something really personal, he's basically writing what he knows. You can really comes across. Yeah.
I just feel like everybody kind of has that cousin that you're just like, oh.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And also it was so well calibrated because I think that they used just enough of him. I think he because he's it's a lot of a character, and I just felt like they used just enough of him, and then they would give us a little bit of a breather, and then we'd get back.
Yeah.
So anyway,
gosh, I really hope he wins like best supporting actor, and I hope that
I really think he will. I think he's won all of the precursors. I think he's won everything. So it's as close to a sure thing as we have this season.
That's the only thing I would bet on if, like you said, we were betting people. That'd be it. That's all. Nothing else. I have no clue. No clue.
So I have Wicked at number 2. I just I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed all the performances and this and and there have been so many terrible Wizard of Oz movies. So it was nice to see somebody kind of do something interesting with Wizard of Oz. And so yeah, I have it at 2. My number 1 is where I have The Brutalist. And I watched this movie and I was just like, how did this get made in 2024? I mean, an almost 4-hour epic personal drama with an intermission. I mean, it just felt like such an anomaly. And so just the spectacle of it, I have to admit, did kind of wow me. And I do agree that the second half isn't as strong as the first half, but I still found it overall a very gripping movie. I think it's as close as something like There Will Be Blood as we've gotten in the last, it has that sort of like rawness and intimacy. And I mean, I thought that Felicity Jones was good, but I do kind of wish they'd used a disabled actress, because there's no reason why they couldn't have. She's disabled from the very first time we see her. It's not like you need the transition, and that's why. So I kind of wish that they'd done that, but I don't know. I was very impressed by it. I thought the music was great. I thought the acting was great. I think that it's not as fun a movie as Wicked, but to me, it's the best of these 10 as far as best made.
It's definitely not fun.
It's not fun. No, it's not fun.
It's not fun.
But I was very impressed by it.
I mean, okay, so the filmmaking's impressive, but that's where it kind of ended for me. It feels like two movies in one. The first part I really liked. After the intermission, like, no, it just I didn't really care about the characters, and I know that's bad. The ending, I just didn't like the ending at all. I know it's supposed to be ironic, and it just didn't work for me. And Felicity Jones and her performance is one of the main reasons I really didn't like it. And I know that's, again, unpopular opinion, like the brutalist. Oh, if you love cinema, you have to love this big sweeping epic. But she was so bad, especially going up with Guy Pearce and Adrian Brody and the rest of the cast. She just stood out. And I hate to say that. I'm not an actor, so like, I know it's a hard job. I know you have to have a lot of talent, but she took me so far out of the second half of that movie. I never could just get back to it. And it's so overstuffed too. The second half,
it is overstuffed.
Too much.
I mean, it is to me. It's I guess this is an example of like Oscar bait that I took the bait. Like I was just so that's why. And I thought that I didn't think she was bad, but I just didn't think she was the right person for the role. I just think there could have been somebody that would have been better. But yeah, I mean, I didn't hate the second half as much as you did, but I did see a dip. It was definitely not as strong as the first half. But yeah, it was just a big epic movie that I was very impressed by. And so it actually ended up it wasn't in my top 10, but I ended up with it in my, I think, top 15.
And that's why I think that has a really good shot at winning Best Picture, because it's one of those big sweeping epics, like old time cinematic feel that I would think older voters would really gravitate towards.
I think it has a pretty good chance. It hasn't won like it's as far as momentum leading up to the Oscars, like it hasn't won that much. So that could, or like Honora's just been winning a bunch. But I would imagine it would be pretty high on most people's ballots with the preferential ballot. So I would think
it feels like an Oscar winner.
That could help it. And I think that Adrian Brody will win for Best Actor. We'll see what happens at SAG. But I think Chalamet could be a surprise. I could see that happening. There was like controversy about them using AI for the Hungarian. And they had to come out and talk about that, and that I don't think that's a big deal. I think it's basically just like a sound effect. It's part of sound mixing. That doesn't matter to me, but that could matter to voters, especially if people are real triggered by any mention of AI. Oh, I can't vote for that. They used AI, kind of a thing. It's possible. It's possible that could hurt it. But yeah, I think I would, if I'm filling out my ballot of what I think will win, I think I would probably go with The Brutalist, but Anora has been gaining a lot of momentum, so it could be Anora.
And you're right, creatives tend to not like AI very much. I know I hate it, so
yeah, I'm in general not a big fan of it, but I feel like there's a nuance here that using it for a special effect on a small sound bite, I'm not gonna, I don't know. They had such a small budget, and what they accomplished on such a small budget, I kind of get it.
It actually is an achievement. Yeah.
They probably should have just let it not sound that great, rather than I think the director is just a bit of a perfectionist, and evidently they just couldn't get the accent to sound the way he wanted it to. And so for those scenes, he decided to do that, but it probably would have just been better. Just make it sound bad. But I understand why that would have been a temptation for sure. Like, we can do it cheap. We can make it sound really good. And so I don't know. It's an interesting debate. But yeah, so you think if you had to pick what will win, you think you'd go with The Brutalist?
I don't know.
It's
I really
don't
know, because it's been Conclave just won the BAFTA, right? Like,
yeah, Conclave won the BAFTA, and that's another one I could see the preferential ballot really helping out.
Me too. This is one of the years where I don't think there's a clear winner here. Even with the two of us talking about this, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, which is kind of fun.
It is fun.
It's going to
really
make
fun.
Oscar night fun, because we just don't know. But and like I've told people, don't judge, fill out your ballot by me, because I have very bad. But I think I will put The Brutalist winning. But it would not surprise me at all if Wicked, A Complete Unknown, or Conclave were to be a surprise winner, because of the preferential ballot and because those are very well liked, crowd pleasing films. Because Conclave did very well at the box office for drama like that.
Yeah.
And so it would not surprise me at all. So yeah, that's interesting. Let us know, if you're listening, what you think. What are you going to be putting on your ballots? We want to hear in the comments, and if there's what you think about all these different, what's your ranking of the Best Picture nominees and what you think of them. We'd love to hear. And thanks so much, Lisa, for doing this. And if people want to follow you, read your reviews, how do they do that?
You can find me in screenzealots.com and all over all social media platforms, Letterboxd and Rotten Tomatoes, under Screen Zealots.
Great. And are you doing any festivals this year?
I'm getting ready to head to Slam Dance in LA in like two days. Oh my God, it's like whirlwind. And then are you gonna be at South by?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Maybe we can see a movie, and hopefully it's better than The Fall Guy that we did last year. So
I'm actually going to be driving for the first time, because the tickets were so expensive. The plane flight.
You're driving from
Utah. I'm driving from
God.
Utah. And so because I figure, since I have a place to stay, if I drive, then I don't have to rent a car. So we'll say, because I am stupid poor right now.
Well,
so anyway, I'm driving.
If you drive, we'll do a Thelma and Louise road trip, and
hopefully I won't get super sick, because I got horrible allergies last year. But I guess also having a car, I can just leave. If I get super sick, I can just leave whenever I want.
That's true. That's true.
So anyway, yeah, I probably will get there on Sunday, and then we'll leave on Saturday, since it'll take me 2 days basically to drive.
Okay. I won't be there the whole time, but that'd be really fun. Well, I hope we get to see something. That should be fun. So
And we'll be doing on the channel, we will be doing a preview of South by Southwest with my friend Will from Film Snobs, and those are always a lot of fun. So I look forward to that. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, check out the Hallmarkies podcast. Lots of fun stuff going on over there. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really, really helps us, and only takes a second of your time. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We really, really appreciate that. And we have the Patreon group, which is the biggest way you can support everything I'm doing. And I try to give pretty good benefits for being a patron. We have monthly patron events. Like this last month, we had Emily Ting, writer director, on, and it was super fun to get to hear her story and hear her answer questions. So I try to make it as beneficial as I possibly can to join the Patreon. So check that out. And we have the merch store where you can get the Female Film Critics Panel shirt. You can get other fun designs. Check it out. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.